The Fall is a powerful and thought-provoking play that addresses the ongoing struggles against systemic inequalities and injustices in South Africa, reflecting on the significant student-led protests that emerged from the hashtag Rhodes Must Fall and hashtag Fees Must Fall movements. And so, as it closes this Sunday, the production serves as a reminder that this year marks a decade since these protests began, igniting a national conversation about access to education, deep-rooted issues on racial and economic inequality. And so, to chat a little bit more about this, we have producer Kamogelo Ketsia Velaphi, as well as actor Sihle Shona, who, of course, is also one of the fallists. Good morning to you both, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
We just celebrated Freedom Day, and so 30 years into over 30 years into our democracy, we're still looking at the plight of students, of education, higher education and training, absorption into the workforce, the labor force, and it's looking grim. Tell us about those reflections upon this play now coming back. Who wants to start?
I'll take it.
Sure.
Yeah, as you said, this play was written about the Rhodes Must Fall and Fees Must Fall movements and highlights those experiences. What has been interesting for me producing it this time round, because I wasn't involved in the first one. So in this reimagination, I think it's even ironic that we call it a reimagination because these things are still so prevalent. Students are still fighting for access to education. They're still fighting for things that were promised to them years ago, things that were promised before the students who were involved in Rhodes Must Fall and Fees Must Fall were even born. These were things that were promised in the Bill of Rights, the Freedom Charter. So looking back at all of those things and then looking at where we are currently, this play has been, I want to say, heartbreakingly relevant. It's unfortunate that it's relevant still in the way that it is. But when we look to the play, we see examples of different struggles that the students are experiencing, but also just the conflicting realities that they have amidst themselves. From social backgrounds to like gender politics to things like that, and how all of this must exist and somehow function in a way that appeases, institutionalism.
It's highly emotive. I was crying. I was in the second row and I was crying. At some point, it looked like you were looking me in the eyes, Sihle. But I want to look at your character because obviously there's beyond the debates about the GBVF issues, sexuality, representation, access. There's also needing to finish your exams because you need to be deployed into a core field that the country needs. And so there's that moral dilemma, but there's the bigger picture. What do we look at, this long-term, short-term game? How did you go about preparing for your role?
Well, I had been an active member of the Rhodes Must Fall movement, and I was more an observer, coming in as an observer. And I remember particularly the part that you're saying was so emotive for you, which was the medical plenary, observing it. Tangiso, who is one of the actresses who plays Kawekazi in the play, was actually the real person who chaired that meeting. And what really touched me about it was that it was a matter of life and death, and that it was no longer just students pushing to fight the system, but now people's lives were like in our hands. And the decision that was made from that day was going to determine whether people were going to live or die. And that was quite scary for me. And I was like, I want to one day tell the story, but also insert myself in it. And I wrote the character Uzugile as a dedication to my brother, my late brother's memory, to be like, if he had gotten the opportunity to go to varsity, I imagine him to be this fighter because he was a fighter for me to protect me, but also to have a purpose beyond it. And like Zugile has here, which is to fight for the students, to fight for people who were in medical school and also those who are going to be health practitioners in real life. So, yeah.
I mean, there's the issue of the notion of agency, finding your voice, standing up to authority, unlearning narratives, relearning, understanding who you are in relation to this bigger picture. There's so much, it's so nuanced. What were the creative differences that would have arose? I mean, you've had to condense that into this play. What are the challenges that have also come as a result?
That's quite interesting because I actually can't speak on what it was the first time you guys did it, but looking at it from a production standpoint, I think the first week people were in the room, I guess there was this understanding that this work is really important, and there is a lot here that is covered. Yes, a play can't cover everything and all of the experiences that were had, but quite a lot is covered here, and different issues are covered. So when it came to creative decisions, I think the most important thing and the most beautiful thing that emerged was like obviously having the original creators in the room and in the play as well, but also having new voices who are interacting with the piece for the first time, who have also had different experiences of that time period as well, and may not have had a UCT experience either of these movements. So what was interesting was watching the collaboration come together and people bringing new ideas and new understandings, but also digging into the well of what has been 10 years since this was created
and how there are still more questions and answers, because to your point, as much as there were people, let's say, on campuses, there were obviously activists watching from the periphery, assisting on the side. I mean, there was a whole generation that was influenced. And so as that plight continues, the role of theatre in conveying this message this time around, what do you think it does? How does it reinforce what still needs to be done?
I think what's been so beautiful about this reimagination has been working with really young people who are dedicated to telling stories. We've worked with institutions prior to this, and now working with Theatre Duo, all young creatives and Black taking up space, really channeling what I guess the students of Rhodes Must Fall, the Fallist movement also did. That change always comes with like young energy. And that it is needed that we actually take up more space and insert ourselves and write the narratives that we want to see become our realities, because in many ways theatre reflects life and life reflects theatre.
Well, that conversation continues, and thank you for joining us. I've literally got a lump in my throat, so more healing needs to be done. But at the our producer Kamogelo Ketsia Velaphi and actor Sihle Shona chatting to us about The Fall. Of course, that play that really just delves into the stories of those who participated in the Fees Must Fall protest, showcasing their passion, determination of young activists at large who sought to challenge the status quo, but perhaps also 10 years later, what remains.